Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Chicago White Sox March to October, technically I guess, the start of Season 4. And I feel like the first two times I did an off-season video, I expected it all to fit in one video, and then by the end of it I realized it wasn't going to be one video. So I'm recording it like it's going to be one video. I might split it into two again, who knows? But there's a chance that this could be the most interesting off-season yet, but for a different reason. We had a couple of flashy signings the first couple off seasons. I mean, Trey Turner in the first one, Shohei last year. I don't see that happening this year, but I think that's kind of what makes it interesting, is seeing what we're going to do with less and maybe even getting worse. I would not be shocked if as a team we get worse. But that's kind of the thing, you know, we're sitting here on this screen looking at our record from last year, 115-47, 36 games up in the division to win first place. So even, let's just say we get worse enough to get worse by 15 wins. Let's say we get 15 wins less worth of production from what we put on the field next year, which is a significant drop off. But in that case, we'd still be a 100 win team. So we can afford to get a little bit worse. But here's the thing about this offseason also, which I'm still not sure of, is I don't know if next season is going to be our last season. I don't want it to be, but just because of me throughout this year, just kind of lacking consistency here and there, now it comes back to bite us here at the end, because there's not a whole lot of time left before MLB 23, and once 23 comes out, I'm just not going to keep playing a March to October on 22. And as I sit here to record this, we still don't know when 23 is coming out, although they did announce when they're announcing the cover and also presumably when the game will come out. And if they go back to releasing it in the middle of March like they used to, then that almost puts, if I upload one of these episodes every other day, that kind of puts us exactly at the release time for the game by the time this next season ends. So that obviously wouldn't leave us much of a chance to play then another season on top of that. So yeah, I guess all I'm trying to say is I don't want to say that this is going to be our last season, but there's probably a really good chance that season 4 is going to be the last season of the White Sox March to October. However, that's not how I'm going to play the offseason. I'm going to play the offseason like we're going to be continuing on, because I think one way or another we will. Maybe not necessarily in the March to October, but I might want to do, especially if we three-peat and win the World Series again, I might want to do a simulation like in franchise mode of at least the next season, but maybe, you know, more long-term. Who knows? We'll have to play it by ear. But either way, I'm not going to play this offseason like it's our last season and then just like disregard our future from there. But every time I do an off season, I like to come up with a plan, and I like to talk about that plan before we actually get into the off season. So actually the first thing we're going to do, just because it makes visualizing things easier, is I'm going to go into this franchise that was created when we were looking at awards, because here we get to see our roster from this screen, which you don't get to see in March to October. So I wrote down the list of players who are going to be free agents in this upcoming offseason. We got 4 pitchers and 4 position players. Our 4 pitchers, we got Bummer, Loaizaga, Graveman. 3 relief pitchers, 3 of them all pretty solid too. And then our other one, our 4th one, is Dylan Bundy, who doesn't necessarily need to be added on this list because he's not really a significant loss. We didn't rely on him this year, but, you know, he's up to an 80 now, so we'll take him into account. So Bummer, Loaizaga, Graveman, Bundy, those are our 4 pitchers that are going to be free agents. And then our position players, those are the big ones. We got 2 big ones that are free agents. Yoan Moncada is a free agent. Eloy is a free agent. And then Lauri's a free agent, and Tucker Barnhart. And here's, you know, the last couple seasons, like I said, we had some flashy signings, and I actually have it written down because the last couple years I kind of estimated how much money we were freeing up with our free agents. So the first season, going into the first off season, we were freeing up 72 mil. Last year though, we were freeing up 92.5 million. This year though, from these free agents, we're only freeing up 52.5 million, and it's different because the last 2 seasons we had a lot of that money being freed up by guys that I had no plans on bringing back. this year, there's not even a single one of these free agents who I'm just like completely writing off like we don't need. So it's really tough to know where our budget is going into this, because not only is it less already, but like you have to take into account that Eloy was only making 8.2 mil last year. So he's, you know, becoming a free agent, taking 8.2 mil off the books technically from where we were last year. But you know, he's going to be asking for probably a $30+ million contract. Same thing with Moncada. He was getting paid a little bit more, but he's probably going to be asking for way more than 16 million a year. We also have some pretty decent names heading into arbitration. I mean, it doesn't show it on this screen, but Dylan Cease and Kopech are going into arbitration. And I feel like in MLB The Show, arbitration doesn't really work too realistically, because I feel like after the couple seasons Cease has had, you know, you gotta assume he'd make close to 10 million. I don't know exactly arbitration numbers, but I would assume in his last year of arbitration, he'd probably be making $10 million or more. But I have a feeling that he's gonna get brought back in arbitration for under 2 million. There's still more of our budget being taken up. Same with Kopech. I think Vaughn is also gonna be, he's gonna be in arbitration. I also, when I was calculating that 52.5 million that's getting freed up, I took into account all these random signings like Zach Davies, Martin Perez, all these guys that the game just randomly signs. But you know, there's going to be a new batch of people that are randomly signed. So then there's money being taken up for that. So I really don't have a concrete plan. It's going to be a lot of just seeing what hand we're dealt. So another thing I like to do is write down what I think our roster is going to look like next year based on the plan. So this is what I've come up with. For pitching, our rotation is locked in. We've got Shohei, Severino, Cease, Marquez, and Skubal. That's going to be our rotation. All of them are coming back. Our bullpen, we have Kopech coming back. I'm assuming Luzardo is going to get brought back up, so I have him factored in. Crochet, Liam Hendricks, and Taylor Rogers. After that, though, we got 3 more spots available. It's Bummer, Loaizaga, Graveman. Of these 3, I think I'm going to try to bring Bummer back. I don't really feel too much of a need to bring Loaizaga and Graveman back, especially Graveman. I might consider Loaizaga, but I'm not sure. But let's say we bring Bummer back, so then that's one of the 3 spots. So then the other 2 could either be free agents, or Jose Ruiz now is up to a 76. He had a lot of development last year. I won't show it here, but I think he had in AAA. He was the closer, and he had like 50 saves with an ERA under 1. So he is up to a 76 now, and I think he could probably pitch in the bigs. I don't think he'd be that bad. So let's say I only bring Bummer back. We anticipate Ruiz getting called up, so then that leaves 1 spot. It could be Javier, Christian Javier. You know, we've wanted him in the bigs. They haven't given him a big league spot for most of the time after we traded for him. And then last year they ruined him by making him a starter, so he gave up a lot of hits, so that hits per 9 just tanked. So now he's a 74. So if we don't sign another free agent arm, I don't know who's going to get brought up. I would probably want Javier, but it's March to October. You got to leave room for randomness. Anybody could get brought up. It could be, Kohei Arihara is automatically signed for next year too, so the game could bring him up and put him in the pen. They could put Matthew Thompson in the bullpen. Both of them are higher overall than Javier, so either of them could be on the team. There could be a random signing, like I think Brad Hand before the start of this last season got randomly signed without me having any input, and he was on the big league team. So I literally have written down here for that last spot in the bullpen, I have Javier / free agent / random, because if we don't sign a free agent, we can't rely on the game bringing Christian Javier up. But then moving on to the position players, we got Collins catching. First base, I have Sheets / Sano, probably some kind of platoon. Second base will still be Trey Turner. Shortstop will still be Tim Anderson. Third base, that's the thing, because Moncada is one of the free agents, but Eloy is my priority. I'm going into this offseason 99.9% sure that Eloy is going to be on the team next year. He is the top target. I know we're going to have enough money money to bring him back. But if I bring him back, I don't know if we're going to have enough money to bring Moncada back. So I have as my outfield plan next year, Eloy, Robert, Vaughn, just like last year. So that leaves third base potentially open. So it's either going to be Moncada if we bring him back, or it's going to be Colson Montgomery starting there. And I don't think that's the worst move. I mean, he's an 81 now. He's definitely worse at the plate than Moncada if you just kind of scroll back and forth here. But they're the same in the field. Montgomery's faster. I do think, it'd be a downgrade if we got rid of Moncada for Montgomery. But like I said at the start, we have some room to get worse. We don't need to keep everyone around. We have room. So yeah, so officially third base, I have written down Yoan Moncada / Montgomery. But the way I see it, it's more than likely going to be Montgomery. I think we're probably going to be parting ways with Moncada. Then Ohtani for DH, obviously. Actually, no, not obviously, because we have no idea if that whole postseason DH situation is going to fix itself. I'm assuming it's going to fix itself, but we don't know that, because actually here in the franchise mode, if you go to the lineup screen for our versus righties with DH, it still has starting pitcher in, and there's no, you can't switch in a position player. You can't force it to create a DH. So if it didn't fix that going into franchise mode, there's no guarantee that it fixes itself going into another season of March to October. But if it does, Shohei's going to be our DH. Then for the bench, it's Sano / Sheets, whatever the platoon is going to be, Kiner Falefa, and Adam Engel. So that would leave 2 more bench spots open, and it all kind of depends on what we do with Moncada. If we get rid of him, then Montgomery won't be on the bench, so we'll have 2 bench spots, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if the game is going to let me. I don't know, because here's what we did last year. Finishing last year's offseason, I was anticipating Yermin being our backup catcher, and then also we had Kiner Falefa who can catch. But what the game did is it auto-signed Tucker Barnhart. So if I go into this offseason assuming Kiner Falefa can just be the backup catcher, I kind of don't think the game is gonna know what I'm planning there, and I feel like they might kind of force in a catcher free agent signing. So that could be one of those 2 bench spots, is a catcher, whether I decide to sign one, whether the game decides to sign one, or whether the game decides to bring Yermin up. So then the 1 bench spot left is probably gonna go to Wes Kath, because I really don't know if there's anything I can do to prevent that. He's a 77 now. Nobody else who could get brought up, Romy, Adolfo, those are really the only 2. No one else is a higher overall than him, so the game is probably going to bring Wes Kath up. I would like to leave him in AAA, get a Colson Montgomery situation from this last season going in this next season, where we could hopefully get him a fast track, get him up to an A potential. But if he starts in the bigs, then we won't be able to do that. So either I would have to find the money to sign a free agent that's a 78, which would block Wes Kath from being in the bigs, or I would just have to accept the fact that he's going to be in the MLB, which wouldn't be the worst thing either, because he's a good hitter now. He had that kind of upgrade without a fast track. And who knows, he could even be in the conversation to start at third over Montgomery. I would say he's a better hitter than Montgomery overall, not by a lot. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I probably honestly didn't even need to go over the plan too in depth there, because most of the plan is that we sign Eloy and then just see what happens. So I think we're ready to go ahead, hit advance to off season, and see what kind of carnage is about to ensue. So here we go. We have 67.67 million in the budget, so 15 million more than what I planned on. So that's good. What does it say here for the depth chart? It looks like the arbitration already worked itself out, and I was spot on. 1.1 mil for Cease, 1.1 mil for Kopech, 1.1 for Vaughn. We can't see lineups right now, so we can't see yet if the DH situation was fixed, and I don't remember last year if it showed Ohtani here at DH or if it showed someone else. All right, so I didn't even think of this, but I think for team needs, since we're going to go after Eloy, we can put left field. Since we're going to go after Bummer to bring back, we could put relief pitcher. We do have 1 more position left over. I don't know, because we have to see the interest level. Oh, and this is actually my first time seeing seeing who free agents are. There is Juan Soto, who is kind of just Eloy, but younger, lefty, and better. But here's Eloy. He's actually okay. Both of these guys are asking for less than I thought. I thought Eloy being over a 90, still pretty young, and a former MVP, I thought he'd be asking for pretty much the max, but he's not. Moncada's asking for about what I expected. I expected him to be asking what Eloy's asking for, and I expected Eloy to be asking for 30 mil. But we have to put these guys in the priority thing to actually see their interest level in signing with us, because if this is your first March to October offseason, it's all about what their interest level says. It'll give a percent, and then putting them on this board will add to that percent, and the more interested they get, the cheaper we can sign them for, and the more sure of signing them we are. Bummer is hardly asking for anything. It's more the length that I wouldn't want to give him. Or wait, no, I read that wrong. I read that as 5 years, 7.7 mil, not 7.7 a year. Okay, so he is asking for a decent amount. But now I don't know. I don't know if I want to see, do I want to see Moncada's interest, or do I want to see Johnny Lasagna's interest? Because yeah, if we actually look at the relief pitcher free agent market, it was Bummer and then Castillo and Loizaga, and pretty much nobody else. Everyone else here is a relatively lower overall, or like mid-30s. And then you got Alvarado, who's 80 overall and only 29, but he's coming off a almost 8 ERA season. Oh my god, look at Ronaldo Lopez's last season after I didn't bring him back. He went out, played the exact kind of season for San Francisco that he had been playing for us, and had a 1.87 ERA. He replicated 2022 and then did better, and he improved a ton. Look at that, up to a 79. I don't know, do we look at getting him back? We already have 2 long relievers though. We don't need a third. I don't know, because we also have to take into account maybe not wanting to spend the entire budget, because if we are playing this like it's not our last season, we do have a lot to worry about then next offseason when it comes to money, because Cease will be a free agent, Kopech will be a free agent, Luis Robert will be a free agent, and he'll be asking for that 30 plus mil. We'll be losing Taylor Rogers and Liam Hendricks, which actually probably neither of them would get brought back, and they would free up a lot of room, so that's actually a good thing that they'd be leaving. But Sano would also be a free agent, so yeah, we'd have a lot to do next offseason that we might want money for. So that's kind of another reason not to bring back Moncada, because if we were to bring back, let's see here, let's do some calculating. If we were to bring back both Eloy and Moncada, and I guess throw Bummer in there for what they're asking, that would be 54.1 mil, which would leave what, 13-ish million left over, which then wouldn't really be enough to do anything else, like potentially sign another free agent catcher or another free agent reliever. Man, now I'm just trying to think towards next season, because Hendricks is 24.2 mil, and then Roberts 10 mil getting off the books then would cover a $30 million Robert contract for next year, so that's already covered on its own. Cease and Kopech would be tough though to find the money for both of them. It might be a choice, and it would probably be Cease. Then we could also, if we do bring back Moncada, we could then look to even trade Trey Turner and get rid of his salary. It'd be so much easier if we could, because I don't think you can do, you can't do off-season trades in March to October, but if you could, we could bring back Moncada, play all of next season with Trey Turner, and then trade Trey Turner in the off-season to free up that 30 mil, and that would be then enough to cover what we would need for next season. And then, we would probably move Moncada to second. We would then have a spot for Montgomery, but we can't even do that because we can't trade Trey Turner. We would either have to trade him in the middle of next season and then lose one of our best players as we're trying to three-peat, which I don't really want to do. Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna put Moncada here in priority 3 just to see his interest, and then we'll go from there. We'll add third baseman to get that up a bit, and then we'll add add a left-handed pitcher, and well, I guess it doesn't matter, so let's just leave it right-handed batter. We'll get to see all three of these guys' interests, and then we'll add 6% to Eloy, 5 to Bummer, 4 to Moncada. And then also, I know we have those last chance things that pop up, and I think that only happens if one of your 3 targeted players is like gonna get signed that week. Then it'll pop up saying this is your last chance, and we could have a chance to kind of force our way to sign them. But the only way we would be doing that is if Eloy is the last chance guy. So let's just hope he's not. Let's hope we can advance without a last chance popping up. So let's advance to the next week. I guess go day by day here. Brandon Lau is the first one to sign to the Brewers. Nobody signed the next day or the next day or the next day. Are we going to make it? Oh, okay. Last chance for Bummer, and he's only 41% interested. Man, okay, so if we don't get him back, then what's our lefty situation gonna be? We'd have Luzardo, we'd have Crochet, we'd have Rogers, so we'd be fine. We wouldn't need to go out of our way to get another lefty. But let's see what we've got here. I don't know. I don't know if this means we'd have a 41% chance of getting him, but I feel like the first 2 seasons we had last chance things pop up for. It was Rogers the first year, Shohei last year, and I think both of them had a lower percent chance than this, and we still ended up getting them. If we wanted to max out what we could do, it'd be 58%, and then if we wanted to see the least, it'd be 22. So I think I'm good with the 7.7 mil. And you know what? I won't go crazy. I won't go for that 7. We'll just leave it right at the asking. 5 years, 7.7 mil. Do I even need to do this now that I think about it? Is this necessary? I guess it is, right? Because if I was thinking of bringing him back anyway, we probably would have just ended up paying this, but just at the end of the offseason instead of here at the beginning. So I don't know, I'm just gonna go ahead, submit this offer. If he accepts, he accepts. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And he doesn't. That might be the first time, actually, we've had one of these where it's not a guarantee that we actually ended up not getting him. So at least we finally know that the March to October free agent signings aren't rigged. That does kind of suck, though. He was really good, but I also don't know how much we're gonna miss him because for whatever reason, every year the game just didn't really use him. We probably got like 1 year's worth of innings pitched over the course of the 3 years. We still have 3 lefties if the roster shapes up like I think it will, but we might, I don't know now. I don't know. We could just let our minor league guys come up and fill in all these spots, and that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because we'd still have a really good back end of the bullpen. We'd still have Crochet at a 91, Rogers and Hendricks at an 88, maybe down to an 85, 86 by the end of the year, and we'd still have Kopech and then Luzardo, who I know Luzardo is then now getting into the 70s of overall, but he's been good. Jose Ruiz at a 76, and then it would just be whoever the game decides to bring up. If it decides Javier's the guy, even Ryan Burr, who knows? Well, it looks like, just looking at all the free agents here, it looks like Soto got signed. It usually pops up, but Soto to the Mets, Walker Buehler to the Phillies, as long as our division's not getting better. Castillo to the Yankees. You know what we could do now, actually? I didn't even think about that, but that might be smart. Since we didn't get Bummer back, we could definitely go for Johnny Lasagna. Same age, same overall, higher potential, and for the same money. But we actually probably do need a righty more than we need a lefty. The more I think about it, why didn't I just prioritize Loaizaga from the start? Other than him, our only righties right now would be Hendricks and Kopech, and then if they bring up Ruiz, Christian Javier, our righties wouldn't be too strong. So yeah, Loaizaga is probably the better option anyway. So we will see what his interest is looking like. We probably actually should see here what some of the other, because we might need a catcher, backup catcher. We might want to see what that market's looking like. It's not great because Barnhart wants 4 years. All these guys that are low enough overalls to be backups, they're all mid-30s and they all want 4 years. Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather just hope the game brings up your mean, but I'm also too worried that the game would just sign some random catcher that's not even on this list. Why is Brandon Woodruff's head so small? Look at this. What is going on with that? Is that what it's actually like in game? You know, I feel like so much of this comes down to whether or not I bring Moncada back, and I feel like I kind of just need to make a decision now. He doesn't have a ton of interest already, and Eloy does. I don't think I pointed that out, but 59% interest. He's already at the point where we could force him to be signed no matter what with this guaranteed thing here. So one way or another, it's already a guarantee we get Eloy back. Now it's just a case of for how much. But if I did bring Moncada back, then Montgomery would be on our bench. One way or another, the game would probably put a backup catcher on our bench, and then that would block Wes Kath from coming up to the big leagues early. But then there's also the case that at that point, if we have Moncada back and we have him back for a while, what would be the use of waiting for Wes Kath to be ready to go? See, here's the thing. I'm just gonna, if this was 100% definitively going to be our last season, I would bring Moncada back, and I think that would give us the best chance of winning in the next season. However, if we still want to keep it in mind that one way or another we would keep going after this next season, then not bringing Moncada back would give us the best chance of continually being a good team, in my opinion. And I really don't want to shut that door on potentially doing more than one more season, because who knows? The tough thing too is if he was either playing better, slightly better even, or slightly worse, it'd be an easier decision to make. But the fact that he's had the seasons he's had where it's like he's really good, but he's not insanely good. I mean, I guess this year he was pretty good, but like, I don't know, it's not like he was going out there hitting 40 home runs and contributing that way. Okay, at the least, you know, since I can't make the decision yet, I'm gonna move him to the last priority. But if I change this thing to, I'll leave it here. We'll advance another week and see what happens. Okay, so there's where it shows Bummer. It still didn't show everyone else. Soto and Buehler and all them. Woodruff with the Red Sox, Bregman with the Giants, Alvarado in the division, and we're ready to get into the next week. Any more signings we missed? Not any major ones. All right, well, at this point, I guess I may as well leave Moncada on the screen for one more week to get him up to that 50% to unlock the ability to at least offer a contract. Johnny Lasagna is he's at 51, so we could sign him, or we could attempt to sign him, but it wouldn't be a guarantee. So I don't think there's anything else to do. I don't know, because I'm kind of stuck just thinking of these people, but we do have, I don't know, I guess offensively, we don't need to bring in anybody. You know, once we get Eloy back and make a decision on Moncada, either way, we make the decision. One way or another, I'm going to let the CPU handle the offense, whether it brings up Yermin, which would be preferred, or if it decides to sign somebody else for 1 year as a catcher, or if it decides to bring up Kath, or whatever it does. We're leaving the offense as is. The only decisions then is after we sign Loaizaga, are we gonna sign more free agent relievers, or are we going to let people get brought up? Just who else is a reliever? Who else is available for that bullpen? There's still Ronaldo Lopez. There's still Graveman, but Lopez probably would be a better signing. There's Andrew Chafin, who's kind of a MLB 21 March to October legend. I don't know. There's options that are probably better than like bringing up Christian Javier or whoever the CPU would bring up. Andrew Kittredge might not be that bad either. Really good, solid season last year. I like his pitches. Didn't go down in overall that much at his age. Isn't looking for too much. That might be solid. I don't know. One way or another, I'm going to leave it like this for this week just to unlock the ability to sign Moncada. So let's go ahead and move on. One more week, and Shane Bieber signs with the Angels. Freed to Houston. We lost some money though out of nowhere. Now we're down to 65.5. So did random people already get signed? I don't see any random people signed. Maybe they just wouldn't show up here and they're all the old 65 overall starters that for whatever reason the CPU decides we need for the minors. Man, I don't know what I'm doing. Those first two off seasons were easy compared to this because I was just kind of throwing money around and it was all exciting. And this year it's just like deciding to retain players or sign not so flashy and relatively uninteresting free agents. The whole thing is the Moncada thing. Do I keep him or do I commit to Montgomery? We know what we're gonna get out of Moncada. These last 3 seasons have shown us that. He is going to hit for 15 to 20 homers. He's going to have an average around 300, and he's going to get on base a lot. That on base percentage is going to be up near 400, which is a very good thing. And I just don't know how much drop off we'd get with Montgomery starting over him. It could be significant. I mean, it's not like he played much this last year, but in the time that Montgomery did play, he wasn't good. If you look at his numbers, his contact is worse. There's no easy way to compare them, but Moncada's got 87-71 contact, 69-49 power. Montgomery's got lower contact both ways and lower power both ways. 66 discipline compared to Moncada's 90, which is huge for the getting on base. Their fielding is like identical, I think. It's both a 79. Montgomery's a little bit faster, but Moncada's also a switch hitter. Man, I was going into this offseason being like fine with not bringing back Moncada, and the further we go, the more I'm kind of convincing myself to bring him back. It all started with him and Eloy both not really asking for as much money as I thought they would be. I don't know, I guess for now then we just move on yet another week, leaving things where they are. So let's advance another week. I guess we'll also have to keep an eye on if our budget keeps going down, signing people that we don't know about. Verdugo goes to the Cardinals, Carson Kelly to the Cubs, Minter to the Phillies. Still nobody signing within our division. Eloy's up to 80% now. Well, if we sim, 3 more weeks, then we could just go ahead and lock up Eloy at least and then open up another spot. If we do 3 more weeks, that would get him up to 100 with a little bit of leeway that we probably could knock down the salary by a little bit. We could even bump up the years to knock down the salary by even more. So we'll keep simming another week, see if any developments happen here. Meadows to the Mets, Iglesias to the Jays. The Mets have made a couple of signings here because Meadows is pretty decent. They're kind of becoming the real life Mets here. They signed Soto and then they signed Meadows here. Meadows wasn't even asking for much. Dang. Zach Wheeler to the Rays. Correa. I must have missed. I didn't even see him on the board. He hasn't been anything too special here though in this March to October. At least he leaves the division though. I guess that's it for this week. Unless, no, I think they covered them all. All right, I guess we just keep going week by week until something happens. I mean, I don't know what else to do. We could lock Eloy up right now for 5 years, 25, or we could wait 1 more year and make him even cheaper. Did I say wait 1 more year? I definitely meant wait 1 more week. But yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll wait another week, see if anything else happens. Tyler O'Neill. How good is he? He's okay. I mean, into the division, that's not what you want, but he's not like ridiculously good at least. But the Royals, they're the only team that have made moves, so maybe they're thinking this is the year to start to be competitive. John Means to the Reds. Why does he look generic there? Pablo Lopez to the Reds. Okay, the Reds are loading up a bit maybe. Didn't we play them near the beginning of this last season and kind of notice that their team was pretty decent? Maybe the NL Central is going to look interesting because I think the Brewers have made a couple. I mean, they signed Lau and I thought they signed someone else. Pete Alonso to the Astros. Didn't have the best year last year, but he's still got all that power. He's like a slightly worse Eloy at the plate. Gurriel, 30 homer season last year, 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row. How did I miss that? He's been a beast all 3 of these March to October years. Man, he has completely flown under the radar. How do you put up those 3 years in a row and then still sign for only $10 million a year? Mejia to the Blue Jays. How many catchers do they need? They already had too many. Stroman then to the Rockies. Okay, the Rockies have made a couple moves too. too. What's this for? Suarez would be interested in signing with us. I'm not interested in signing Suarez though. That's the problem. All right, Eloy's up to 100. I think we go ahead and just pull the trigger on it. We could get him for 5 years, 24 and a half, but he is only 28. So 5 years, that would be what? 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. We could definitely sign him for longer than that. We could bump it all the way up to that 7. Sign him until he's 34. That's not unrealistic. And then how far could we knock this down? Not too much. Save a $500,000. So let's do it. Let's offer Eloy the 7 years, $24 million. And I think we're finally going to be making our first signing of the offseason. They're going to make it all dramatic, but 100% interest. That's a guarantee, right? I don't think there's even any percent chance that we don't end up with him. And there he is. The one guy that I knew for sure I would be bringing back is officially brought back. So there he is, our MVP. Now it gets interesting. We got 41 mil left. We could sign Moncada and still have like half of that left. And the longer we go, the more I'm thinking that I'm just gonna bring him back. I mean, even the guaranteed at this point, 7 years, 25. Because even if we think longer term here and we don't get rid of Trey Turner, let's just say we keep Turner the last 2 years of his contract. Yeah, it would kind of suck to have Montgomery and then I guess also Westcath just kind of stuck on the bench. But once they are off the bench, then Moncada could move to second, Montgomery could move to third. I know Westcath can play the outfield, so maybe one of the corner spots opens up. You know, who knows? Maybe Vaughn will continue his trend of getting slightly worse each season, and we won't want to bring him back by the time he's a free agent. Man, I gotta be honest, the more I'm sitting here though and thinking about the future, the more I'm wishing that it was like October instead of end of January, so that I could actually think that we'd be playing far enough into this to have to make these decisions. Ronaldo Lopez is still out there, man. He's good. He's so good now. It's just I don't know how confused the CPU is going to be if we have 3 long relievers, 3 relief pitchers with stamina over 60. But I mean, look at him. 75 hits allowed in 110 innings, 1.78 ERA, didn't give up many homers. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, 31 years old, at a B potential, you don't know which way it could go. He could either stay exactly the same, he could improve a little bit, he could start to regress. You never know. But he's not asking for much, 4.3 mil. Because the other option would be signing somebody older who's hardly any better, but you know they're just going to regress. Like the one I'm looking at is Kittredge, who's only 3 overall higher, but at 35, he'll probably end up as the same overall as Lopez by the All-Star break. Man, I think I'm going to at least put him on the board. We'll get Lopez on the board. I think I'll do this. We'll keep the team needs for Moncada, but then move Loaizaga up to the 1 to get him 5%. We'll just see what Lopez's interest is. And this would be all we need if we signed all 3 of these guys. What would that look like money-wise? If we signed them for what they're asking for, that'd be 33.7 mil, so we'd still have like 7 million left over. And this would be all we'd need, because that'd be 2 more bullpen spots. We bring up Jose Ruiz. We sign Moncada, Montgomery's at the bench, and then it's either Westcath or whatever catcher decision the CPU makes. So let's go ahead, advance this week, see what Lopez's interest is looking like. Oh, and now, okay, all of a sudden it's a last chance. He was interested though, so if I put him on there earlier, we could have gotten him. Man, and he's also only 1% away from us being able to use the guaranteed thing on him. I think I'm actually gonna offer him this and bring it to a coin flip. So you know what? No, I won't even save the 130K because that's a whole 4% that we could keep if I didn't do that. So let's do what we did with Bummer. Let's keep it at the asking and see with a 54% chance if we're gonna bring Ronaldo Lopez back. Let's do it. Why not? And we didn't get him back. So we lose 2 of those this year. All right, well now we're gonna have to figure out that that other reliever situation, and there's another one to lose out on. We also, it didn't show Andrew Chafin getting signed, so we lose out on him if he was even in the mix. Wow, and Conforto actually got a contract here after not playing for 3 years. He hasn't played this entire March to October, and then now all of a sudden at a 66 overall, a team wants to pick him up? That doesn't make sense. All right, well then who else do we got? Who else is on the board? Trevor Richards here. I was wondering why they rank him as the highest relief pitcher free agent when, you know, he's a 77 overall C potential 31-year-old, but he does have 87 hits per 9, and he's had some really nice seasons. But the weird thing is, especially after a season where he pitched that much and pitched that well, he still regressed. So that only makes me think he would regress faster this next season, so that's probably out of the question. Tyler Duffy had a really nice year. He was the closer, actually. 41 saves with an ERA of 1.5. I did not realize that. There's still Graveman. He's still out there. He wants 4 years, and I wouldn't want to give him that. He was really good 2 years ago, but last year was not. I think if I remember right, though, he was good, real good to start the season, but then fell off as the season went on, and he didn't really regress. He didn't lose an overall point, so there is also that. High hits per 9. Maybe we just look back to another guy to re-sign. He could be the best option left right now. There is still Kittredge, but is he a better option than Graveman? Because he's only got 3 pitches, a worse hits per 9. He's older, so he'll regress faster. Graveman's slightly cheaper, a year younger, better hits per 9, 5 pitches. You know what? Let's add them to the board. Let's see what happens. I think we'll leave these things as is. We'll go ahead and move to another week. All right, no last chance this time, so that's good. Oh, and Graveman is very interested. Okay, that's better than I thought. I assumed he'd be at like 50% or something. All right, well, I think maybe it would be smart to move Moncada up to 1, and then maybe we could just finish him off, and maybe I should have done that the last couple weeks so we could have finished him off and then got these two guys like 7% each the last couple weeks. That would have been smarter. But let's do this for this week. Advance another one. Oh, and we're getting a last chance for Graveman. I don't really want to use the guaranteed on him because, well, for one, that would take him up until he's like 40, which also I guess doesn't matter. But if we use the guaranteed on him, we can't use the guaranteed on either of the other two guys that I want more. I could do this. This would be more realistic, actually. 2 years, 4.3 mil, and he's still 81% interested. I kind of want to do this. I'm going to offer him this one. 81% chance. I don't know, man. We could lose out on another one, but 81% chance. You'd think we'd get it. But maybe just all the good luck from the last couple of years has run out, and now we don't get lucky. But I'm going to offer him this. 2 years, 4.29 mil, and hopefully, there we go. Okay, he is here. We found that other righty. So now he's off the board. We got him not interested in Tom Murphy. Hey, Dylan Bundy got signed. That didn't pop up, but all that we did for him, getting him up to an 80, only got him a 1-year deal for 2.7 mil. I was kind of hoping for more for him. But man, that's another, I didn't even realize that. That's another Reds signing. What kind of offseason have the Reds had? All starting pitching is what they're loading up on. They get John Means, they get Pablo Lopez, Freddie Peralta. They have built an entire rotation in an offseason, and I don't even know who they already had. The Reds are going to be interesting. I'll be curious to see what their team as a whole is looking like once this is done. All right, well, I think I'm going to leave this like this, get Moncada all the way up to where he needs to go. He'll be at 100, and then we'll have one final week where we can put all the emphasis on Mr. Johnny Lasagna, and then that'll be it. The Angels make another starting pitching signing. Mets got Trevor Richards, and Altuve. You haven't signed anywhere yet? Huh? He's got to find somewhere, right? They're not gonna just not sign him at a 91. I mean, I don't have a spot or the money for him, but normally when these things pop up, it's for like lower end free agents. All right, so there is Moncada up to 100%, and I was ready. I was ready to let him walk, but that's not what's happening. I think what I'm gonna do, we signed Eloy as a 28-year-old to 7 years, so we can sign Moncada as a 29-year-old to 6 years, and then they'll both be free agents again at the same time. We can knock this down by one little bit here and save, what, 200,000? And here we go. We're bringing him back. Uh-oh, this always worries scares me when it pops up, but there's no cancel option, so we're locked in. And all right, I guess at the end of the day, this has just turned into the off season of bringing people back, because once we sign Johnny Lasagna, there will be no new people added to the team. It'll all just be people that got brought back. So we can add the 10% to Johnny Lasagna, sim this last week, and then offer him our deal. So he's up to 100. We can offer him, okay. Well, I think this is actually the first time I've gotten this far to this stage, because he was at 93. He went up 10%, but it didn't, in the back end, it didn't give him like 103%, because we knock it down by 1 and he still goes down to 99. So I guess we'll just keep it where it's at, keep it at the 5 years, 7.5 mil, keep it at 100%. It'll include a competitive balance tax. I think we have enough in our budget left, and then actually what that could mean is that we didn't leave anything left for the CPU to use to sign random dudes. But there we go. We just brought back people. 2.3 million left over, so I guess I did. I went all in for this season. I went all in for the three-peat, and we'll just figure out next season when it gets there, I guess. Once again, our division, Cleveland signed Zunino. They only made the one signing, so that's a decent signing. The Tigers signed nobody. The Royals with 2 signings, and then the Twins signed nobody. Our division just doesn't want to be competitive. They're not ready. We could have let every single free agent walk this year and just said, you know what, we're just going to bring up people from our system and see what happens. And we would have been fine. All right, we can advance and we can see our roster in its entirety, what the CPU is going to do automatically. Glaber was still on the board. Wow, and he goes to the Twins. So I guess I jumped the gun a little bit, and our division is going to get slightly better. Well, I don't know, because they lost Correa, but now they added Glaber, so I don't know if it really gets better. And we're still going here. Jacob Stallings, just a couple extra signings here at the end. Nobody to our division, at least not that I noticed. Will Smith back to the Brewers. Franmil with the Twins. Okay, they waited until the very end here to make some moves. Framber is a good bat. I guess he's just moving from one team in our division to another. Brett Phillips to the Cubs. Another Cubs signing, Mancini. Man, he was an option a couple of years ago when we signed Sano. I thought, hang on, I didn't even look at Mancini. I thought with the Sano signing that I made the right move, like easily, which I probably still did, but Mancini's been really good too. Angels get another pitcher, backup catcher in division. Rockies make another move. Is there anything else? Yeah, there are a couple more. A utility guy in division. Urshela to the Braves, Sewald to the Astros. The Astros have made some moves this offseason. They might be back. Oh, and the Twins, dude, the Twins are cleaning up here at the very end. Where did this come from? They didn't make any signings, right? They had no signings when I was just talking about how our division didn't want to compete. And then they go out and they add 3 pretty big bats. They added Glaber, they added Franmil, and now they're adding Adames. They went from having no offseason to maybe arguably one of the better ones. And they're still not done. Colton Wong now. Wow, and Jeff McNeil was still on the board too for the Rays. Are we done now? Do the Twins have any more surprises? No. It looks like we're done because we saw the fabled December 33rd that came after March 1st, as it does. And there we go. I mean, they still gave us a 5-star offseason, which I don't know if I'd agree with because all we did was bring back 4 of our 8 free agents, but I guess they were probably 4 of the better ones. Now we can see the final in-division signings, and we signed Jonathan Scope for why? I didn't think we had the budget for 2.8. I thought we only had the budget for 2.3 mil. Well, okay. Interesting. I was expecting a catcher, if anything, but I guess that does then probably keep Wes Kath off the team. I like Scope. In Diamond Dynasty, he's got one of my favorite swings. There was a gold Jonathan Scope a couple years ago that might have been one of my favorite cards of all time. So that's not a bad utility guy to get stuck with. Cleveland signed Leury. Man, I guess I'm lucky that we didn't end up with him because he signed the exact same deal that Scope did at the exact same overall. Detroit just made a couple of little signings. The Royals out of nowhere signed Gold. What happened to Goldie? old he? He's down to a 67. He still put up a good year last year, and he couldn't have been much higher than a 67 throughout. And then yeah, the Twins, look at that. They even signed a couple more guys that didn't even pop up. That's scary. The Astros, they did bring Altuve back. Okay, I was wondering what was going on with him, but they got him locked up. They got Lopez, they got Alonso, Max Fried. The A's got a 36-year-old 81 overall DeGrom for 6.2 mil. And Mad Bum, that is actually hilarious. They signed 2 old pitchers that were once great. Wow, I didn't even realize this. The Phillies, they made so many signings that you have to scroll. The Reds are going to be very interesting with what they did. They also got Manuel Margot, and they added another good reliever. The Brewers had an interesting offseason. This actually turned out to be a fun offseason, more league-wide than just for me, but interesting one. All right, let's advance then to opening day, I guess. Obviously, we're not going to play it here, but we get to face Kansas City right away. 1-1 on opening day, and let's just see what we got. What did the game give us here for opening day? The DH is back. That might be the biggest key addition we added back. We'll have to, or I'll figure out how to get Shohei in there because he's not showing up here now. But I think, honestly, I think all I got to do is do that. And then, yeah, he's there. And then we can throw him in and then rearrange this back. And we're good. Okay, I'll mess with the orders and stuff later. But we've got everyone in their right position. So I think we've got it all, as I was assuming here. Sheets, or we'll start with Collins catching, Sheets at first, Turner at second, TA at short, Moncada back at third, Eloy in left, Roberts center, Vaughn in right, Shohei DHing. They did bring up Yermin, so for the first time in this March to October, he is here, man. He is here for more than one at bat. I doubt the game will do it, but I would much rather have, on a day when Collins is tired, I'd much rather have Kiner Falefa back there. The bench will be interesting though, because Engel's our only outfielder. Sano can play the corners, but you don't really want him to. Kind of the same thing with Sheets. So actually, now that I think about it, I kind of wish the CPU, if they were going to sign somebody, they would have signed an outfielder. And oh man, I didn't even realize this. Montgomery isn't here at all. He's not even on the bench. I was planning on him being on the bench, but I guess with the Scope signing and the Yermin, I guess, necessity of having a backup catcher, Scope not only was good enough to beat out Wes Kath, but he's good enough to beat out Montgomery and keep him down there. So we could get another fast track for Montgomery. Interesting developments here. What about for the pitching? First thing we can do is move Kopech there. There's no Luzardo. They went with Javier and Ruiz over Luzardo. Okay, well that's a little worse because now we do only have the 2 lefties, and if Crochet is locked in as the closer, then we kind of only have the 1 lefty, so that might mean another year of Liam Hendricks as the closer. I don't know, but we'll figure all that out and more at the start of next season, next episode. But guys, we did it. Another off season in the books. Sitting here, that took even longer than I expected, and I have no idea if I'm going to condense it down to 1 or 2 episodes still, because honestly, for the most part, nothing even happened, so I probably could make it 1 episode. I don't know, you guys don't care. But guys, we are set up for season 4, going for that 3-peat. So all I have left to say is make sure you leave a like on this video if you haven't already, and if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button for me. And guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around for this whole off season. And I will see you next time for opening day of 2025.